liquid goods when the cardholder is under the legal purchasing age. Petition of Kyra Clifford March, requesting that the House urge MedSafe to prioritise the approval of Dupixent and urge Pharmac to fund it as soon as possible.
Those petitions stand referred to the Petitions Committee. A paper has been delivered to the Clerk for presentation.
Government response to the petition of Reuben Hilder.
That paper is published under the authority of the House. 3 Select Committee reports have been delivered for presentation.
Report of the Education and Workforce Committee on the briefing on the report of the Education Review Office, a new chapter, how well are the changes to English and Maths going? Report of the Governance and Administration Committee on the Regulatory Systems Internal Affairs Amendment Bill. Report of the Health Committee on the petition of Kathleen Walsh.
The bill is set down for second reading. The report of the Education and Workforce Committee is set down for consideration. No bills have been introduced. We come now to oral questions. The first in the name of the Honourable Dr Megan Woods.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Energy. Does he stand by all his statements and actions regarding LNG?
The Honourable Simon Watts.
Mr Speaker, yes.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker. What protections, if any, will be put in place to ensure gentailers will actually pass through any eventuated savings to households rather than simply banking the extra $400 million per year as extra profits?
Well, Mr Speaker, that's why we are beefing up the powers of the Electricity Authority. This will make sure that the gentailers play by the rules and that consumers get a fair deal. This includes increasing penalties for serious rule breaking. These changes will mean that power companies will face real consequences if they try to take advantage of customers or distort the market.
Supplementary question. What, if any, mechanisms will be put in place to protect against large increases in the levy, given his Cabinet paper says the levy can be annually adjusted?
Well, Mr Speaker, the levy that is included within the Cabinet paper refers to the mechanism in which we will cover the costs to build the infrastructure. The infrastructure is still under commercial negotiation, so that exact cost is not yet known, but the levy will be based on what that final cost does land at.
Supplementary question. What specific mechanisms will be put in place to make sure LNG is only used in dry years and not as routine baseload supply, which would push up energy costs for New Zealand households and businesses?
Well, Mr Speaker, the reason why the government is developing an LNG facility is to provide backup fuel for the electricity generation in a dry year. It is an insurance product for the electricity system. There may be a case to have a secondary benefit in regards to that gas for industry, but its primary purpose is for electricity generation.
Point of order, the Honourable Megan Woods.
Mr Speaker, I asked about specific mechanisms to ensure that it would be only run in a dry year. The Minister didn't address what any of those mechanisms would be. This would be important because if it is used for other than dry year backup, it does have the potential to increase prices.
The Minister may like to add to his answer.
Supplementary question. Has he received any advice or modelling on what investing the up to $2.7 billion in alternatives such as solar and storage, load shifting, energy efficiency, fuel switching and accelerated renewables, to name a few, as opposed to leasing an LNG terminal, would do to wholesale and retail electricity prices? And if so, will he release that modelling?
Mr Speaker, all of the information in regards to the modelling has been released by my officials yesterday. MB did consider a long list of 11 different options, including renewables, demand response and new thermal plant. All of these were considered. However, none of those, with the exception of LNG, were deemed to be feasible, nor provide the sufficient firming capacity and scale required to meet dry year needs. LNG is the right option, Mr Speaker. The maths is simple.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Could I ask the Minister, is there a time that he might take some advice from the very person who shut down the critical energy infrastructure at Marsden Point?
Well, that's not something that he can comment on.
Point of order.
Yeah, point of order, the Honourable.
He most certainly can comment on whether he's going to take that advice from that person. What's wrong with that? I'm asking, are you going to take this advice from that person with that track record?
Yeah, good.
That's a legitimate question.
Sorry, I did not quite hear that part about the taking of advice. Minister, may give a brief comment.
Yeah, I have no requirement to take advice from that member.
Supplementary question. Does he agree with Kapowship, a company that participated in the government's own LNG process, that it would place upward pressure on gas prices, thereby making prices more expensive for Kiwi families and businesses? And if not, why not?
Mr Speaker, as I noted before, we are currently in the middle of a commercial negotiation process in regards to the selection of the vendor to undertake the importation of LNG. It is not appropriate for me to comment on supposition in regards to some of those parties that may or may not be in that process.
Supplementary question.
The Honourable Shane Jones.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, will the Minister be taking advice as to whether overseas investors who may participate in this LNG project could be fearful that their rights would be terminated, as was the case with the cancellation of the oil and gas industry?
Mr Speaker, in regards to the risks and issues that investors will be considering, one of which will include political and sovereign risk, and that is a fair assessment. As a government, we are taking on board that consideration, and we'll be ensuring that those international partners that are looking to invest capital in this country on a long-term basis to support our economic growth will be protected.
Supplementary question. Has he received any advice on whether the process outlined in his cabinet paper, where a delegated group of ministers make the final decision on the selection of a preferred provider, falls within the usual scope of procurement?
Mr Speaker, yes.
No. Be OIAing that.
Question number 2, Nancy Liu.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And my question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, what recent reports has she seen on Investment Boost?
The Honourable Nicola Willis.
Mr Speaker, today the initial results of an Inland Revenue survey about Investment Boost were released. According to Inland Revenue's survey of over 800 firms, Investment Boost is already changing investment behaviour for the better, bringing capital projects forward, increasing their scale and lifting productivity across the economy. The survey shows that of those who knew of the scheme, 40% of firms that invested said Investment Boost had already increased their investment. This included 11% reporting a significant increase directly because of the policy. Mr Speaker, this early data shows Investment Boost is working.
Supplementary question. What does the survey show?
Well, Mr Speaker, that early positive impact is expected to get even stronger over time. For example, 49% of firms planning to invest over the next 5 years say Investment Boost is influencing their plans positively, with 14% expecting a large increase in investment as a result. More than half said they were changing the nature of their forward-looking investment plans, with many firms reprioritising investment projects or bringing planned investment forward. Wow. This is exactly the behavioural change the policy was designed to deliver, and exactly what you see when government backs investment rather than talks it down.
It's almost like we should keep it.
Supplementary question.
Dole and handouts.
How does Investment Boost work?
Mr Speaker, Investment Boost was introduced in Budget 2025 to encourage business investment by improving the tax treatment of capital investments. It has been a long-standing challenge for the New Zealand economy that we have had low rates of investment in capital in our firms, and this is strongly linked to our low productivity rates, which underlie low wages in New Zealand. Inland revenue modelling shows this policy reduces the effective marginal tax rates on new capital investment by around 5 to 6 percentage points on average, making previously marginal investment projects viable and encouraging more investment to proceed. It matters because it helps drive long-term growth, productivity, job and income growth. We're well on track to reaching initial estimates that Investment Boost would lift GDP and wages by 1.5%, capital stock by 1.6% over the next 20 years. In fact, around half of those gains are expected to be delivered in the first 5 years.
Supplementary question. How important is policy certainty to long-term growth?
Mr Speaker, of course it's very important. This government introduced Investment Boost to help address the country's long-standing productivity problem through driving capital investment. We're clear that we back ownership, investment and stable productivity-enhancing tax policy. But a policy like this one only works if businesses believe it will endure. And what businesses want to know today is, will Investment Boost be retained as a permanent fixture of our tax settings to unlock growth through future election cycles? Or will it be sacrificed to fund ever higher spending? And those members opposite owe hard-working Kiwi business people an answer on that question today.
Question number 3, Laura McClure.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety, what legislation is she currently progressing?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Brooke Van Velden.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This week has been a busy week for the Workplace Relations and Safety portfolio. This week, the Health and Safety Work Amendment Bill was introduced to the House, and the Employment Relations Amendment Bill went through the Committee of the Whole this morning. Both of these bills are a win for businesses and workers by making it easier for employers to hire staff, keep workers safe, meet their employment obligations and change their staffing mix when they need to.
Supplementary. What does the Health and Safety at Work Amendment Bill do?
Mr Speaker, the bill addresses concerns I heard on my Health and Safety Roadshow that the law is unclear and that WorkSafe is not much better. We're fixing this. Changes in this bill will make it easier to run a business in New Zealand by helping to ease the cost of compliance while supporting safety outcomes. It does this two main ways. First, by strengthening the role of approved codes of practice to give businesses access to guidance that is tailored to their own industries and easier to keep up to date. And second, by requiring WorkSafe to move from an approach of expecting everyone to address every possible risk towards one in which WorkSafe provides guidance on critical risks a workplace must address to meet their obligations under the Act.
Supplementary. What does the Employment Relations Amendment Bill do?
Mr Speaker, the Employment Relations Amendment Bill supports business confidence by enabling a more flexible labour market and giving businesses greater confidence to provide new and better opportunities to workers. When businesses have this confidence, they are more likely to create jobs and to take risk on new hires or promotions. In particular, it will ensure poorly behaved workers are not rewarded for bad behaviour. It will support workers' freedom of choice to not be part of a collective agreement, and it will make it easier for employers to give workers a go in high-impact positions. And it provides more clarity around what constitutes a contracting relationship.
Question number 4, the Honourable Ginny Anderson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Police. Does he stand by all his statements and actions relating to supporting the police's front line?
Mr
The
Speaker,
Honourable Paul Goldsmith.
on behalf of the Minister, yes, and in particular my statement, our police do an outstanding job.
Why are there fewer police than what there were a month ago, and when will he now deliver the 500 additional police officers, given that he failed to do that on the 27th of November last year?
Well, Mr Speaker, the good news is that there has been an increase in frontline police officers since we came into government of 285 police officers. My notes tell me there's 10,496 police on the beat, and the good news is that those police are supported by a government that backs the police to do their job and to restore law and order in this country. Unlike the situation under the previous administration with a revolving door of police ministers who didn't support the police.
How can he claim that he is supporting the front line when the Police Association reported in February that almost 60% of police officers have considered leaving due to insufficient pay and staffing shortages?
Mr Speaker, like I say, we support the police, and look, of course there's always challenges in a very tough and difficult job, and that's what they do on behalf of all New Zealanders to keep those New Zealanders safe, and we back the police. And the most important thing we do is give them the support through extra budget. We had more than $480 million over 4 years to support the frontline in Budget 25, and an extra $226 million under Budget 24 to support the extra police officers. This government backs the police.
Does he agree with the Police Association President, Steve Watt, who says, quote, "You don't solve this by spending millions trying to attract new people while the ones you already have are burning out and questioning whether they can stay. If not, why not?"
Well, no, I don't agree with that statement, because what I would agree with is the sentiment that we've been pushing hard to increase the number of frontline police officers after a period of real strain. And I also support the additional powers and legislation we've given the police to go after the gangs who create misery in this country. And after years where we had mixed messages to gangs about sometimes being against them, sometimes being for them, sometimes paying for them to do work for us, this government has sent a clear message: back the police with tough legislation, and that's the most important thing.
The Honourable Shane Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Minister envisage a time when the police frontline will be used in moving out the monoros, the criminals, the gangs, the layabouts and the vagrants blighting Queen Street?
On behalf of the Minister, yes, I can anticipate that time.
Has he considered offering frontline police the same daily rate as Sunny Koshal, $920 a day, in the next police pay round? If not, why not?
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, I won't indulge in the members' petty games, but I will focus on the outcomes. And the outcomes is that in this country, right here, right now, there are 38,000 fewer victims of violent crime. And that's 38,000 fewer families that have to go through the pain and suffering of being victims of violent crime, and that's what this government has been focused upon.
Questions of that nature will always lead to slight disruption in the House. Question 5, Oreni Kaipara.
Te Pika, my question is to the Minister of Internal Affairs. What assurances can she give to Māori and to all vulnerable communities in Aotearoa that they will not be harmed by the online casino gambling bill?
The Honourable Brooke van Velden.
Mr. Speaker, my intention for the online casino gambling bill is and has always been clear: to regulate online gambling in a way that prioritises harm prevention and minimisation. The online gambling market in New Zealand is currently unregulated. The bill will provide greater protections to all New Zealanders and all communities within New Zealand than under the current unregulated market.
Why will this bill enable rangatahi aged 18 to access online casino gambling when existing laws prohibit anyone under 20 from walking through the door of a casino anywhere in the country?
Question. Because currently anybody of any age can gamble online. The law, when this bill is passed, will prohibit licensed casinos online from advertising to people under the age of 18 or allowing anybody under the age of 18 to use their products online.
How many of the proposed 15 online casino licences will be issued to companies based here in Aotearoa?
Mr. Speaker, I can't know that for sure because the licence and the auction has not occurred. The auction will only occur once the bill has become law.
How does she justify allowing 15 multinational gambling companies to operate and advertise in Aotearoa when New Zealanders lost $2.79 billion to gambling in the last year alone, according to the Salvation Army State of the Nation report released yesterday?
Mr. Speaker, quite easily, because the law will put in place a safer regulated market than what we currently have. It does this in many ways by having strict harm minimisation standards that currently do not exist. And in particular, when it comes to genuine addiction and problem gambling, online casinos who currently operate pay nothing to the problem gambling levy. In the future, they will be contributing to harm minimisation by a levy that will force them to contribute to lowering gambling harm for specific problem gamblers.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Does the Minister intend to take a race-based approach to online casino gambling as the original question suggests?
No.
Question number 6, Tamitha Paul.
Tēnā koe te maanga. My pātai is to the Minister of Local Government and asks, what advice has he asked for or received about the risk of more wastewater disasters like that at Moore Point, noting that the water regulator says about a third of wastewater plants are operating with expired consents?
The Honourable Simon Watts. When the House will just totally settle itself and the Minister will begin his... Hang on. Does someone need to go out early? Or two of you, perhaps one from either side. If you want to nominate yourself, you're not going to. But
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Simon Watts.
Mr. Speaker, I receive regular advice about the issues across the water network, including on the recent events at Moa Point. It is fair to say that what we are seeing reflects systemic underinvestment in water assets by local government. And I think that the fact is acknowledged everywhere across this House. That, of course, will be well known to the member, given her experience as a councillor.
Parliamentary.
A question's being asked.
Why did the government introduce wastewater discharge standards in December that will allow 40,000 colony-forming units of bacteria per unit of discharge when some councils, like Bay of Plenty, noted that this represents an 11 times increase on their current consented limit, and will this allow more or less wastewater to enter the ocean?
Well, Mr. Speaker, one of the key ways in which we can address the challenges in which we are seeing in regards to wastewater is to ensure that we have appropriate water quality standards in place and regulation to back that up. And that is what we're doing. Local Water Done Well ensures that that regulatory approach is in place, and we're proceeding with that approach also for Wellington, which will become a CCO on the 1st of July.
Supplementary. Was the government warned when they chose to scrap the Three Waters program that further delaying investment in water infrastructure would likely lead to disasters like the one at Moore Point in Wellington?
Mr. Speaker, it's too early to be drawn to conclusions on what has happened at Moa Point. I have, however, read some commentary that certain councillors championed increases in cycleway spending, all while the council continued to underinvest in water. If they are here, can they please stand up?
Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question.
Mr. Speaker, I've got a point of order.
Oh, point of order, sorry.
I would like to table...
Wait on, point of order, the Tamitha Paul.
I'd like to table a graph that is not publicly available that shows wastewater investment by Wellington City Council from 2013 to 2024.
Is there any objection? Is there objection? Just a moment. Hang on a moment. I'm just trying to hear what's going on in the House. Hold on. Sorry, Mr. Peters. Oh, yeah.
That tabling should have happened after the question time, not an abuse of the question time process.
Right, so, sorry, leave is not granted.
Point of order, sir.
Point of order, the Honourable Kerry McAnulty.
Now, sir, there was a point of order underway there, and there was senior members of the government making noises, one being on their feet. Now, in any other circumstance, that would have been pulled up by you, and what is of concern to me is that it appears at first sight that it is because it was one particular member that was doing it that it wasn't, and that is of concern. That was a really quite obvious breach of the clear guidance that you have given this House.
Yeah, it's true. And if it was the case, but I was actually looking at the member who was doing the taking the point of order, because I'd originally called it as a question, so I moved from one to the other and didn't quite understand it. I'm still speaking. Please sit down. And that could have occurred, but I'll certainly watch out for it. Right.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
What reports has he seen of Wellington City Council Tamatha Paul moving empty, virtue-signalling motions to do, quotes, whatever it takes, in the quotes, to prevent sewage overflow with no practical bearing on budgets whatsoever,
Good, okay.
while voting time and time again to blow out funding for cycleways as the water bills flow down the pipe?
Yeah, the member who's just asked that question considers himself to be quite an expert on standing orders and speakers' rulings, and so he'd be aware that Speaker's ruling 1813 rules that question out.
Supplementary.
Tamatha Paul.
Thank you. Does he believe that the private company operating the Moore Point wastewater plant should be held accountable for the environmental disaster occurring on Wellington's south coast? And if so, what will he do to ensure that this happens?
Mr Speaker, the specific contracting arrangements for water services are a matter for councils. I expect the contracting arrangements to be considered as part of any review or investigation that is undertaken. I'm pleased to say that under this government, water assets are staying owned by local communities.
Supplementary, Cameron Luxon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What advice has the Minister received on the effect of successive Green Labor councils prioritising spending on cycleways, art house public toilets and utopian urban development designs instead of basic water infrastructure?
You've got to have a question, supplementary has to line itself largely with the primary question, which that question does not. Tamatha Paul.
Is the Moore Point disaster an example of privatising the profits and socialising the risks of contracting out key services?
Just a moment. Someone is clearly going to have to leave the House. Just as a demonstration that when questions are being asked, no one else is talking. Please start again.
Thank you. Is the Moore Point disaster an example of privatising the profits and socialising the risks of contracting out key services, noting that Veolia is paid $17 million a year to operate by Wellington Water and there is no evidence of them paying any penalties for those failures?
Mr Speaker, no, but what it is an example of is a failure by those responsible and those that have power to ensure that they prioritise spending on essential services, which includes waste and stormwater.
Supplementary. Does the Minister plan on holding Veolia to account for their environmental destruction? And if not, is it his view that Veolia are not responsible for the ecological disaster happening on the south coast?
Mr Speaker, the member will be aware that Mayor Little and I and the Prime Minister have already met to discuss what is a very serious issue for Wellingtonians in regards to what we've seen at Moore Point. We are looking and considering the intervention and the review process in which we will undertake to get answers to those questions, and I have offered Mayor Little all the support that I can provide from local government to make that happen. It is too early to signal or align blame to anyone, but it'd be fair to say years of underinvestment will be no doubt part of the consideration by that group.
Right Honourable, point of order from the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
I seek leave to table the critical minutes of Wednesday, 23rd of March 2022 of the Wellington City Council, where it points out who stuffed up where and when.
Okay, so I have to ask, is the document readily available on the... Leave is sought. Is there any objection to that course of action? Yep, there appears to be objection.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Just the whole House should just calm itself down.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Right, we'll move to question 7. Tangi Utikiri.
Kia ora, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Transport. Does he stand by his statement, quote, the government is committed to the roads of national significance, end quote?
The Honourable Chris Bishop.
Mr Speaker, yes, the government's committed to building a long-term pipeline of transport infrastructure investment to address our infrastructure deficit, build jobs and growth for Kiwis. The Roads of National Significance program is a vital part of that pipeline. However, as I said last year in November, and it's good to see someone finally noticing, while we're committed to the Roads of National Significance, delivering them tomorrow or all tomorrow is not realistic. Some roads will not be starting for many years. What the sector's told us is required is a credible long-term pipeline of transport projects with a variety of funding options, and in a logical sequence, that's what we're delivering for New Zealanders.
Supplementary. Does he accept his officials' advice that progressing the first wave of RON's projects involves a $30 billion funding gap over just the next decade within a land transport budget that is already fully committed? And if so, where specifically will that money come from under current funding settings?
Well, as the member has rightly noted, there are real challenges with the funding for land transport into the future, and the Crown faces many demands for capital from defence through to schools and hospitals and other projects that are critical. All of those decisions require important trade-offs. And the other point I would make, as I said again in November last year in a speech about this specific point, all roads have to be paid for. There is no such thing as a free lunch, and ultimately we want users to pay for roads because we have a user pays system. So we are giving. Well, you guys campaigned on putting up fuel tax. So, yes, fuel tax is an important part of paying for roads.
Just answer the question.
We are doing further work at the moment around the right blend of funding options in order to deliver roads of national significance.
Does he accept that his own officials' modelling shows that there are only two viable ways to fund this program, either significantly higher transport taxes or around $40 billion in additional debt? If so, which of those will he choose?
Well, yes, the advice went to me and I accept it, and that's why I publicly released it. So obviously I accept the advice. The specific examples the member is talking about are essentially straw men in order to illustrate the point around the funding challenges. Clearly raising fuel tax by 50 cents a litre is not sustainable politically or economically, and we will not be doing that. Likewise, borrowing $40 billion in order to fund the Roads of National Significance program is also not realistic or economically responsible. However, within those broad straw men that make the point, there are a range of different options, including tolls and other forms of charges and fuel tax. But ultimately, if New Zealanders want high-quality transport infrastructure, someone has to pay for it, and you get what you pay for.
Supplementary.
Supplementary, Tangi Utikuri.
So, has the Minister spoken to the Finance Minister about adding $40 billion of net core Crown debt, and if so, what was her response?
There would be very few people in Parliament, with the exception that I don't talk to more than the Finance Minister. I sit next to her. We have had many conversations around transport funding challenges, and we are doing work on that, as I've said publicly, for 4 months. This is a challenging situation for everyone. We are doing work on it, and I'll have more to say soon.
Tim Costley.
What announcements has the Minister made today about roads of national significance like Transmission Gully?
Well, Mr Speaker, I'm very pleased to announce today that Transmission Gully, I hope the member didn't just say that was stupid, because that will be very interesting news to the people of Kapiti and Wellington. Transmission Gully is going to 110 kilometres per hour, making it faster and easier for Kiwis to go north to the mighty electorate of Kapiti.
Supplementary. Why is he prepared to spend $56 billion on roads at the expense of funding for hospitals, schools and critical public infrastructure?
Well, the member sets up a completely false dichotomy, and that is not the binary that is before the government. We are committed to, well, you guys should read your last GPS, because you campaigned on many of the roads that we are now delivering. So you might want to actually look at what you campaigned on. It's like history passed them by. It's like they didn't live through the years they screwed the country. But anyway, we are committed to a long-term transport infrastructure pipeline made up of not just the roads of national significance, but important public transport projects like the Eastern Busway, funding for which was announced for the final stage today, like the Northwestern Busway, which is a really important project in Auckland, and also the second harbour crossing in Auckland, which the country will have to confront in due course as well. We are committed to that pipeline. The point I have made for 4 months now, and the member seems finally to be catching up on, is that roads and public transport has to be paid for, and we are working our way through that, and I'll have more to say soon.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Nicola Willis.
Is the Minister aware of feedback from the infrastructure sector who are looking for more bipartisan commitment to infrastructure planning? And is it helpful or unhelpful for other political parties to suggest they would cancel roads of national significance?
Well, Mr. Speaker, one of the consistent pieces of feedback I think many members of the House get is that what we need to do as a country is have some degree of stability about a long-term transport pipeline. We are committed to building that. We are being completely upfront and transparent with New Zealanders around the funding trade-offs required to deliver that. That's why I proactively gave a speech about it and released the material. The member seems to think he stumbled upon some grand new piece of information. And we are committed to building that pipeline, and it would be great to get the opposition support for that.
Question number 8, Tim Costley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister of Housing, what progress has Kāinga Ora made on its turnaround plan?
The Honourable Chris Bishop.
Mr. Speaker, last year we announced the Kāinga Ora turnaround plan. I'm really pleased that since then the organisation has made good progress getting its books back in order and improving performance, delivering lower debt, lower build costs, a strong renewals program, less rental debt and higher tenancy satisfaction.
Well, Mr. Speaker, why did Kāinga Ora need a turnaround plan?
Well, Mr. Speaker, when we came into government, debt for Kāinga Ora on its balance sheet had risen from $2.3 billion in 2017 to $16.5 billion in 2023-24. The 2023 board-approved budget showed debt forecast to grow to $24.8 billion by 26-27. From 2017 to 2023, the waitlist for social housing grew by 20,000 people. The situation was unsustainable. Something needed to change. We commissioned an independent review. We've changed the board. The turnaround plan is in place, and we're now making good progress.
Well, can the Minister tell us what Kāinga Ora's expected peak debt is and how that has changed?
Mr. Speaker, before the turnaround plan, Kāinga Ora's peak debt was forecast to be, listen to this, $29 billion in 2032-33. Turnaround plan brought that down to $21.3 billion, and now a year into the plan, debt is expected to peak earlier in 29-30 at $19.5 billion. That is a total reduction in peak debt of $9.5 billion so far. That is debt borrowed by the government that we will not have to repay thanks to the fiscal prudence demonstrated by the new organisation. In 2 years of proper stewardship, the savings have helped to fund 2,000 additional community housing, social housing places, the Greenfield model to enable delivery of thousands of new homes and other cost pressures in the housing portfolio. We're saving the taxpayers' money and delivering high quality public services.
How are tenant and community outcomes tracking?
Well, Mr. Speaker, some might say that the reduction in debt and cost savings have come at the expense of tenant outcomes. The great thing is, Mr. Speaker, tenancy satisfaction is rising, vacancy rates are lower, fewer tenants are in rent arrears, and Kāinga Ora is doing a better job of managing tenants to support safe, respectful communities. When we came into government, 80% of tenants were satisfied with their homes and 70% felt safe. The figure now is 87% of tenants satisfied and 90% of tenants feeling safe. Vacancy rates have dropped from 5% to 2%, and there are far fewer people in rent arrears, a drop of over 3,000. And we are taking antisocial behaviour seriously. At the end of 2023, it took Kāinga Ora 38 days to resolve disruptive behaviour complaints. That is now down to 9 days on average. What this shows is that throwing money at something or an organisation does not necessarily lead to better outcomes. What you need is focused delivery.
Question 9, Scott Willis. Just wait for the House to give you some respect.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Energy. What is the total estimated cost of infrastructure and annual lease fees over 15 years for the proposed liquefied natural gas import terminal?
The Honourable Simon Watts.
Mr. Speaker, the government is currently undergoing a commercial procurement process with multiple parties, so it would be premature to provide a total estimated cost at this time. I can assure the House that the selected option will represent the best value for money and it will deliver savings to households.
Supplementary. Does he accept Bernard Hickey's analysis that the total cost to regular Kiwis over 15 years for LNG infrastructure could be as much as $2.7 billion? If not, why not?
Mr. Speaker, no. We've been very clear that LNG will result in lower prices for households and businesses.
How many megawatts of renewables like wind, solar and geothermal could the government build with the well over $1 billion and likely more that regular Kiwis will have to fork out for this fossil fuel infrastructure?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the reality of what we're doing is dealing with a solution to the problem of a lack of fuel to make electricity in a dry year. And that is gas. And when we don't have enough water in our hydro dams, enough wind or solar, we need fossil fuels and we need gas to do so. Coal alone only accounts for 50% of the capacity required. We need gas and we have diminishing gas in New Zealand domestically. Therefore, the very practical solution is to import the gas we require from overseas.
How can he expect that the gentailers won't pass on the cost of the electricity levy to households and businesses, but that they will pass on imagined future potential savings?
Well, Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, a LNG terminal will result in lower prices for households and businesses. But as I've answered to a previous question, we are beefing up the Electricity Authority, which is the regulator, to ensure that the gentailers do play by the rules and that they ensure that consumers get a fair deal.
What is his response to analysis by Rewiring Aotearoa that suggests 1/3 of major gas users could transition to electricity and save money without requiring government financial support, while another third could transition for the cost of an LNG terminal? And did he consider that freeing up 2/3 of our existing gas supply might be a better use of government resources?
Mr. Speaker, I would appreciate that when you add 1/3 and 1/3, you still have 1/3 remaining, and that is 1/3 of industrial business in this country which does require gas in order to create economic growth and benefit for our economy. On this side of the House, we are not of the view that we should be shutting down industry. We are of the view that we should be supporting that industry to make sure they are sustainable, and gas is a fuel that makes the goods for those companies, and we want to make sure they have it.
Does he accept that it was extremely short-sighted of the government to stop work on the gas transition plan designed to manage declining supply and to cancel the Giddy Fund, which supported industry to switch from gas to electricity?
Mr. Speaker, what I can be clear on is that we all know that the oil and gas ban decimated the gas industry.
Come on.
And now Kiwi households are suffering the consequences. This side of the House is fixing that, Mr. Speaker. All sides agree that we need to sort the dry year problem. This side of the House wants to put in place something that will work. And LNG is a practical solution to the country's dry year problem. We need fuel, Mr. Speaker, and an LNG terminal will provide that access.
Question 10, the Honourable Dr Deborah Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister for Climate Change, does he agree with Nicola Willis that New Zealand globally contributes an absolutely tiny proportion of overall emissions. And if so, is this an indication that government has given up on goals to reduce our emissions?
The Honourable Simon Watts.
Mr. Speaker, yes, I do. New Zealand does contribute only a small portion of overall emissions. The member could have saved herself a question by reading the full quote from the Minister of Finance, which begins with, quote, "Our government is committed to emissions reduction and meeting our obligations under the Zero Carbon Act," end quote.
Supplementary.
Supplementary. The Honourable Dr Deborah Russell.
What
and
is
no
his
one else.
response then? What is his response then to UK Secretary of State for Energy Security Ed Miliband and UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper raising concerns about New Zealand's decisions on methane and fossil fuels?
Mr. Speaker, Secretary Miliband and I talk regularly when we see each other in regards to the challenges that both the UK and New Zealand face in regards to climate change. I, however, refute the point that the member is inferring in regards to that individual raising concerns. Secretary Miliband and I talked more broadly, obviously around agricultural emissions, because that is a key aspect of both of our economies, and we talked about the way in which New Zealand is actually leading in terms of agricultural emissions innovation investment to deliver reductions in those emissions, and he was very interested to hear more about that.
Do the reports that Secretary Ed Miliband and Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper have raised concerns about New Zealand's decisions on methane and fossil fuels suggest that our trade agreements might be at risk because of our declining ambition with climate?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, I refute the inference by that member that the individuals in which I interact with raise concerns. We do talk around a wide range of aspects of policy, as you would expect. And it was very positive that Secretary Miliband and I talked about, for example, the great progress that we're making around building renewable generation capacity in this country. And he was very pleased to hear that actually often we're operating at 98% renewable for electricity generation. So it is a good opportunity to be able to share some of the good progress we're making around emissions reduction.
Has Cabinet received any advice on the risk of trade retaliation or sanctions under the enforceable climate clauses in our free trade agreements?
Mr. Speaker, we regularly, and as Minister of Climate Change, receive advice in regards to a wide range of factors. However, in regards to the member's question in terms of concerns, I have no concerns in regards to the points in which the member is raising. We are ensuring that we are meeting all of our obligations. And actually, on this side of the House, we're a very busy government in regards to signing more of those free trade agreements. And I acknowledge the Minister Macleay for his work in that area.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
No, sit down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Point of order.
I'm sorry, it's a point of order, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
No, I'm a point of order.
Question.
Sorry, hang on a minute. Hang on. You've got to be...
you gave me the question, then he jumped up out of turn and came on the point of order.
Point of order trumps a question, so...
That's right. You've been trumped, Mr. Peters.
Sorry?
He's been trumped.
Listen, sit down. Don't waste the House's time with that sort of stuff.
No. Can I ask my point of order, Mr. Speaker?
Point of order.
Thank you.
Francisco Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek leave to table the Freedom of Information Act request that Dr. Deborah Russell is referring to, where the UK government is expressing concerns.
There's a document that is...
It's not publicly available. It's from a Freedom of Information Act request. No, it's from a Freedom of Information Act request.
And if it's a Freedom of Information Act, how's it not publicly available?
Because they're released to private individuals and not disclosed publicly. That's quite often the case.
Any objection? Appears to be none. Question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Can I ask the Minister as to whether Miliband has talked to him about his views on China, India, Russia, USA, being 60% of the world's emissions now?
Mr Speaker, I regularly engage with colleagues, including Secretary Miliband, ensuring to discuss and ensure that all countries are providing contribution in regards to emissions reduction. But first and foremost, my priority as Climate Minister is to ensure that New Zealand is playing its part. And as a government, we are committed to the targets and we are on track in regards to meeting those.
Supplementary. Isn't the reality that one of our most significant trading partners has expressed concerns over our commitments to climate change, and that by obfuscating around that and refusing to accept that reality, he and Christopher Luxon are actually gambling with our exporters' livelihoods by not meeting our climate commitments?
Look, I think it's an interesting way to put a question, but you can't make an accusation like that. Ask the question again without the bits added.
Isn't the reality that he and Christopher Luxon are risking our exporters' livelihoods by backsliding on our climate commitments?
No, you can't. Try again.
Okay. Isn't it the reality that he and Christopher Luxon are risking our exporters' livelihoods by not meeting our climate commitments?
No.
A point of order, the
Mr. Speaker, you put a motion as a request to table a document. Did you notice, though, he didn't have the document?
He doesn't. He's got till 4 o'clock to do that.
Pardon?
He's got till 4 o'clock.
Yeah, but you didn't tell him that.
Eh?
He only arrived here yesterday.
Yeah. Sorry. Just so everyone is clear, if leave is granted to table a document, it needs to be tabled by the end of the day. Question 11, Maureen Pugh.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Conservation and asks, what recent announcement has he made regarding conservation concessions?
The Honourable Tama Potaka.
Today I've made announcements regarding the grant of a 38-year concession for the remarkable ski area near Queenstown, Tahuna, and a grant of a 30-year guided walking concession on Milford Track, and a grant of a 25-year concession for Te Ana'au Caves in Fiordland, Te Rua Te Moko. These concessions strengthen iconic destinations and regional economies while protecting the environment. Long-term concessions give operators the certainty that they need to invest, train staff and plan ahead.
How will regional South Island communities benefit from these decisions?
It's Māngai o Te Whare. These concessions underpin jobs, transport, accommodation and conservation across some of our most well-known visitor and manuhiri hotspots, Queenstown, Te Ana'au and Milford Pio Pio Tahi, which is experiencing a record summer, Minister Upston. The long-term certainty that these decisions gives means operators like Paul Anderson, the CEO of NZ Ski, at the Remarkables keep investing in safety, infrastructure and visitor experiences, building the future economy of the region and the Speaker's home island.
Supplementary. How does conservation support New Zealand tourism?
It's Māngai o Te Whare. Our majestic conservation lands and waters are some of Aotearoa New Zealand's biggest tourism magnets, enabling 3 to 4 billion of tourism receipts every year. And to that I say ka wani care. Not only is the conservation estate a VIP in attracting people to New Zealand, once here 65% of international manuhiri go walking or tramping and 45% visit a national park while in this country. 1 in 5 of DOC's 8,000 permissions are for tourism activities.
Supplementary. What is the government doing to improve decision-making for concessions?
It's Māngai o Te Whare, Te Papa Atawai. The Department of Conservation is doing the mahi, clearing up the backlog of concessions and speeding up decision times. Application volumes have reduced from around 1,300 in September 24 to around 500 today. Tourism applications that have been awaiting decision have gone from 400 to less than 100, and DOC is investing more time around kanui ki te kanui, or face-to-face engagement with concessionaires and prospective applicants, introducing IT systems to move away from the antiquated paper-based systems and getting on with the mahi. My conservation reforms will introduce statutory timeframes, exempted and pre-approved applications, streamlined public notification and clearer iwi engagement requirements. Kia ora.
Question number 12, Leamonga Lydia Sorsini.
Talofa, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Internal Affairs.
is she still confident that firefighters have the appliances and equipment they need to do their jobs safely and effectively? If so, why?
The Honourable Brooke Van Velden.
Mr. Speaker, yes. It's a well-known fact there is a legacy of ageing assets Fire and Emergency inherited. I'm ensured by Fire and Emergency that their fleet and equipment is regularly maintained, safe, certified and legally compliant. They have also assured me they have a robust servicing program of planned maintenance and repairs, and there is an ongoing program of asset replacement. Fire and Emergency has been retiring its oldest trucks and adding around 40 new ones each year, investing around $20 million annually. A further 78 trucks are on their way, in addition to the 317 already delivered since Fire and Emergency was established.
How can she be confident, given the continual failure of aerial appliances, including 32 breakdowns of high-ladder trucks in 2025 in Auckland alone?
Mr. Speaker, I do have confidence, and I know that all New Zealanders wish to have confidence that the right resources will arrive quickly to an incident. With a fleet of around 1,300 trucks, operational issues are unavoidable, but they aren't evidence of a lack of investment or safety. To the issue of the aerial appliances specifically, I understand Fire and Emergency is investing $12.5 million in 5 new aerial appliances scheduled to arrive this year.
Supplementary. How can she be confident when both Rotorua's and Hamilton's aerial appliances and Greaton's command unit failed at the Taupo Nui Aotea College fire over the weekend, with Greaton's appliance unable to reach the scene at all?
Mr. Speaker, look, I've been assured Fire and Emergency is undertaking an incident review in relation to Taupo, including the tactics that were used. I am advised in this instance that alternative tactics were available to firefighters while the aerial appliance was unavailable, and would reiterate that Fire and Emergency is investing $12.5 million in 5 new aerial appliances scheduled to arrive this year. But in relation to the other specific instances that she has been referring to, in any instance, firefighters can apply a range of tactics, including using hoses at height to direct water onto a fire, doing this from an aerial appliance or from a roof, are both tactics which an incident commander may consider depending on the circumstances, the type of incidents and the resources available. But look, I would once again reassure the public that while there may be some breakdowns, because of course with a fleet of 1,300 trucks, there are always going to be some operational issues, but Fire and Emergency operates a network approach to responding to an incident, which ensures that there are backup trucks and crews available to respond as required. So a breakdown does not mean that no one is coming.
Supplementary. Why, in the face of repeated equipment failures, which are forcing firefighters to put their lives on the line, including climbing up the sides of burning buildings due to aerial failures, is she cutting more than $50 million a year from the FENS budget?
Good question. Mr. Speaker, these things are not connected. One of the things that has been really apparent over the years is that we have an ageing fleet. Very, very important that we invest more, which is what Fire and Emergency is doing. But one of the criticisms I have heard time and time again is that there is too much fat in the back office within Fire and Emergency. We are asking Fire and Emergency to find efficiencies within their back office functions, like we are asking all other government departments to do when we have cost of living issues. And I think every New Zealander out there who knows that their insurance contracts pay for the fire levy, that pays for fire and emergency, would be very happy to hear that this minister and this government is taking into account their cost of living constraints so that we get efficiencies, the money goes further, it goes to those trucks and it doesn't go to fat in the back office.
Supplementary. Will she cancel her $50 million a year in cuts and instead invest in equipment and appliances to allow firefighters to do their jobs safely and effectively?
Mr. Speaker, one of the things I want to make abundantly clear is there are no cuts to frontline trucks and maintenance like the member seems to be alluding to. It has always been the case that when the two fire departments or agencies were merged, people wanted to see some sort of efficiency. That efficiency has never been found, not until this government.
That concludes oral questions. Those members who need to leave the House should do so quietly, without conversation on the way.